Test. Where the fuck did I put this? Right here. Prime plate loaded pendulum. Yeah, I mean, it's a pendulum, right? So far, nothing crazy special, but I think I have to do the math again on this, but depending on the counterweight length and the length of the lever arm, the loading arm lever, and then the angle of the counterweight relative to the loading arm lever, and then the loading, you know, the amount of weight you put on that relative to lever arm, the loading arm lever. I think it's possible to get this to be, you know, like lengthened, middle focus, and shortened focus like most pendulums already are. So I think that is the real benefit to the Prime pendulum. It's just the versatility of resistance profiles you can do. I know people can do, you know, a Voltro loading too, but this is built into the machine. Nobody's gonna bring a Voltra to like a commercial gym. And let's face it, the Voltra is not a durable unit. I've seen so many break already. Like my cousin's just broke. He's had his for like 2 years, a year and a half, and it's a home use, so it's a great unit. But if we're talking about like for commercial viability, it's probably either the Atlantis Pro, the Prime, you know, even the Arsenal, all the traditional pendulums. You just gotta use it as it is, kind of a thing. You know, bands and loading horn and stuff. This Prime is complicated though, like all the different angles and, you know, the loading profiles and stuff like that. It's not intuitive, so poor design on their part for that. I can kind of guess why they didn't want to just do a big torque arm on this. They didn't want it to be too heavy, you know, to start. But I don't know, I feel like it still would have been preferable to have it the heavy torque arm and then say like a heavy counterweight arm to begin with, rather than have it like every other pendulum and then having to adjust the counterweight arm to try to achieve the different resistance profiles, because that's not intuitive. You have to do math for that, and it's not complicated math. It's still like kinematics, but it's like, who's gonna do that on the fly? Nobody can, and they don't have anything showing how to do it either. So all that to say, I think they missed the mark on this in general. No, not in general, like overall, but in general, it's probably still pretty good. Let's try to load this a little heavier. This is quite light. How do I clip this bitch on? All right, here we go. The uprights are pretty wobbly. I'm like looking at this whole frame flex. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like the Paramount Total Leg, the Pendulum, when I use it, I didn't feel it wobbling this much in terms of the uprights. The base frame on this doesn't feel like it's wobbling, so that's nice, but that's a fair bit of flex. I know the Atlantis Pro also flexes a bit, but yeah, this is a fair bit of flex. I guess the value is not in the stability of this, because that's kind of wonky, but rather in the adjustability of the foot plate. That's pretty nice. So like, you look at this foot plate here. You see that mechanism? I don't know if the camera angle is all too optimal for this, but basically looks like there are 8 different angle measurements for the foot plate. This one's pretty steep. I'll try this as well. But let's try to check out the angles. Okay. We have 56 degrees on the first setting, 51 on 2, 47 on 3, 43-ish on 4, 39-ish on 5, 34.5-ish on 6, 30.4-ish on 7, and then 26.4 on 8. So all that means is the degree of ankle dorsiflexion, and I guess it does change your swing approach as well, and your foot position. So I guess, you know, if you have less ankle mobility, you just have it on the flattest setting here. And then if you want to, you know, work on your mobility more, or you want to have a different foot placement, or like have it feel different on your glutes or whatever, then you just go higher and higher respectively. And then there seems to be, 8 different depth adjustments, which brings the platform further or closer from your legs, from your swing. I don't actually believe that I can mod this any further to give it any more positions. Neither would I really want to do it for the ankle dorsiflexion, the angle of this foot plate. So that's not really a mod I'd even be interested in doing. Doesn't achieve anything. And then this one, I mean, you could, but I don't see why I would. It would just make it more confusing, and I would really only use this one upturned angle relative to this lever arm. It's upturned. And the reason I do it like this with this specific type of loading is because I'm trying to mess around with the physics of it to get me the lengthened focus, just to see if it's possible. I'm not saying it's ideal, but I want to, you know, explore the depth of the machine, what it has to offer over Atlantis Pro or the OG Paramount. So yeah, from here to here, about 31-ish inches from here to here. About 71-ish. I have to do some math on that later, along with the angles that I'm squatting. And then the loading profile of the counterweight arm as well. Yeah, this is definitely not a review. If you came here looking for a review of this, like, it'd be kind of crazy to do a full review within one day of owning it, you know? Having access to it, I should say. Different angle of the squat. Let's take off this one. Let's try this really upturned angle. Whoa. So a couple things to comment on. The unrack height for my height is just barely too low for me to get the topmost peg, you know, with the foot position that I want. If I walk my feet down, then I can probably do it or something like that, or if I walk it up, depending. But just for my foot position that I like, it just barely too, you know, too short. Another thing is that this re-racking arm, I wish it were counterweighted, because, like, let's say you unrack, right? It just comes up and bonks the top. It doesn't like fall out of the way for you. So you gotta, like, you can't just like stand up to unrack. You have to stand up and push it out in front of you. Hopefully it doesn't like bounce back into it. So Prime, you should have counterweighted this thing. Like, yeah. What else? Well, obviously the counterweight height at the upturn angle, it's pretty tall. It's like I had to reach over my head to put on 45s. It's just a 45 in the end, but for, you know, not many people are gonna want to do that. So yeah, that's not very ergonomic, I guess. And then the back, there are different safety heights as well. I forgot to mention that. So right now I have it on some intermediate height. So maybe I should just adjust it so that it's far down to see if I ever bottom out. But let's see, right now I have it on 3 out of 8. So I'll do it down to 1. I doubt I will bottom out on this one setting. See, come up, bonk immediately. Does not feel bad like this. The platform is pretty stable when you have like your working weight loaded onto it. But I did notice that, like, let's say you have at the very beginning, when you hop on it, there is some clinkiness. Like, see that? It's not very much. That's just the difference in tolerance between the holes on the directions, or I mean the depth, versus the pop pin. So probably like a millimeter tolerance right there. It is what it is. You could redo those things with super tight tolerance, but it would be really annoying to get the pop pin into the hole position if you have very little tolerance or super tight tolerance. And then also this, you might feel some of that, especially when you're on like a lower. So like when you're on a lower angle setting and you step on this part, like this lower part, it has a little bit more of a tendency to wiggle back on you versus the top part. It's a lot more stable. You know, just because like when you're on this part, it acts like a seesaw to pull up against that pop pin and the hole for the angle adjustment. Versus if you're up here, you're already like, you know, pushing down straight on it, so it won't really clink around. So yeah. Eight settings here. This is the 8. This is the 1. I doubt anybody is gonna bottom out on that one, just me personally, but you know, if I don't bottom out on it, I'm pretty small, then I don't think other people really will. But yeah, push up, kick this out of the way, and then start squatting. You see the bounce in it. All right, I'm gonna squat in a way where I'm gonna try to maximize the bounce too, which is high velocity. Yeah, so you see, it's not perfect, far from it, but I mean, gonna run the math on it a little bit later and see if the variations are worth it. You obviously cannot change the angle of this counterweight arm while the counterweight is loaded. It'll just swing down and smash into stuff. A lot of potential energy stored up there, so definitely not. What is kind of cool, I guess, but at this point, kind of standard. You got, you know, this right here. The band pegs. Let me see. Band pegs with like the roller plastic on it. So, you know, your bands won't get torn up, I guess. Less wear on them because they get to roll around. Yeah. Other than that, pretty cool pendulum. Has its issues. This thing bumping to the top pretty easily. The 3 upright posts, not the most stable. I think the Paramount pendulum is still more stable than any of these newer school pendulums, which is like a shame, because like how the heck are you gonna let this old ass pendulum like be more stable than all the new school ones? That's kind of weird. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good pendulum. I feel like the arc, people are talking about like the arc that they take on this, they don't like it versus like it's a shallower arc or wider arc versus say Atlantis. I don't feel any of that. Like they all fit me. All the arcs fit me well. I can, just as long as I'm able to change foot plate angles, is pretty good. I've yet to try a pendulum where I can't change foot plate angle. Even like the OG Arsenal one, that one you could at least change the foot plate angle, even if you couldn't change foot plate depth. Only one that couldn't change foot plate angle is the Atlantis C212, the non-pro pendulum. But even that one felt pretty good to me, so. Yeah, I've yet to feel a pendulum where it's like, oh, this feels like terrible. Only that the Arsenal is the wobbliest one of the ones I've tried. And then probably Atlantis C212, and then probably, you know, I need to retry the Atlantis Pro, was that PW212, whatever. So I need to retry that one, but this one is not the most stable either, I'll tell you that. Like, the base isn't wobbling, it's not like lifting off like the Arsenal was on me. But the 3 uprights, they're not braced enough because of how long this lever is. I feel like the prime lever and the counterweight arm, they're so freaking huge, and they have such high like loading capacity. Just from the length of the horn is like longer than Paramount by a lot. Like the loading capacity and the length and the torque experience on both ends are so much higher that like that effect is magnified on these uprights. So they're not, in my opinion, they're not stable enough. There needs to be way more gussets. Like, look at this gusset at the bottom. That's not enough, bro. This one right here, that's not enough. Why is it not way higher? Why is it not like all the way from down there? Why is it not all the way? Why is this camera not focusing on what I want it to? Why is it not all the way from down there going up to like right to the very tip? You know, just like have a straight gusset, like a strong gusset right there. Same thing coming down to here. Like just same thing, same thing, you know, like a tall one or something like that. I know this thing has to move up and down, but like, I don't know, even like somewhere in the middle or something. I don't understand it. I know people talk about the MegaMass Pro one, but that one's like, it's like a whole, and then the Panada one, that's also a really stable one, but you know, it's a whole platform at that point. So that's cool too. It's just, yeah, just little things that these manufacturers can take from each other and just compile to have like one ultimate unit versus everybody make their own thing, all crappy, all lacking things. Makes no sense to me. Yeah, that's it. It's good. Great even. Need a lot more time on it to really say if it's GOAT or anything like that. But yeah, definitely not a bad one. Okay, so I just want to make a little addendum for the Prime Pendulum, right? So this counterweight arm length from that center horn to this center pivot right here is around 31 inches. From that center pivot to this center, if you drew a straight line, it's around 71 inches. And then the height at which this lever arm for the loading arm is, when I personally unrack it, it's around 4 degrees or so. And then the angle, you know, so it's like 4 degrees below. And then the angle at which it is at the very bottom of the hole for me, around 29 degrees. So it has a travel of around 25 degrees. Now this horn right here, it's upturned in the 8 setting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then there's a 9th. In the 8th setting, it's, I believe, I think it's 13.7 degrees higher. Let me see, above the normal. So we have 12 here, and then this is around 1.7 or something like that. So 12 plus that 1.7 down. So the angle between these two is around 13.7 degrees. So using all of those measurements, I was able to calculate an idealized value of 1.33. And what is that number? That 1.33 is the amount of weight that you have to load on this counterweight arm to break even with this loading arm if you want it to be like kind of like an even resistance profile at top and at bottom for my, you know, my range of motion. And so at 1.33, you know, not accounting for the weight of this arm and then this whole arm and this whole pad, this idealized world, you, let's say you load 100 on this, you load 133 over there, and then whatever weight that you feel at the top will be roughly equal to what you feel at the bottom. You know, since you're doing idealized values and you're not accounting for this weight, of course that's not accurate. And then this one would be heavier, so then you would have to, and this would be lighter, so then you would have to actually load more than 1.33. So let's say 1.5. So 150 on here, 100 on here, relatively, what you feel at the top is relatively the same as at the bottom. So what does that mean? It means that like, if you load less than 1.5, say like 1.2 times, or even, you know, way less on the counterweight arm compared to this loading arm, you're gonna get a shortened focus. So at the very top, you're gonna feel a lot heavier than at the very bottom. And then conversely, if you load much more than 1.5 times of the counterweight arm, so let's say 170 on here, and then 100 on here, you're gonna feel it actually heavier in the lengthened, in the bottom position. I'm not advocating on doing, you know, whatever resistance profile loading, I don't care. Like, I'm just given the math behind, or the math that I calculated, which is like simple, like kinematics, like torque. But yeah, I'm just giving the math behind it. So if you want to do it, you can do that. Yeah. But of course, like, it's, come on, like, this is my head height is like, basically, my head height is basically like right here. I'm 5'5". With my shoes on, I'm probably like 5'5.5" or 5'6". But like, my head height is just basically a little above this thing. So this, I'm gonna have to like carry the plate overhead to actually load it. If I wanna even do this, just kind of funny. And that's assuming I even, you know, rack it on this top horn, this top peg versus like, there's like a second bottom peg. So if I rack it on the bottom peg, this becomes even higher, have to reach even higher overhead. But yeah, if anyone wants to see the math, really simple. I'll just give it to you in like a DM or something like that. It's easier for me to just screenshot my notes. I just did it really quick on my phone. And then this is cool. I mean, there's like a horn here and it's bolted on. So like if you wanted to, you could do your own mod to add an extra horn higher up so you don't have to do this kind of fuckery with the counterweight arms. Like you just have a second arm go higher and just load that one if you want lengthened focus. But yeah, there you go. Everything's cool on this. So yeah, see how like if you step on this, it's like a teeter-totter point. It'll pull up a little bit on the tubing. Like it'll pull up a little bit like that. But I mean, once you're using your actual weight, it's not gonna happen because your full weight is on there. You're not gonna be pushing up fast enough for it to jiggle. Same thing with the back and forth play. So we have the play in, you know, the y-axis, I mean the x-axis, as well as this is like technically y and z-axis. But all that play is like eliminated once you actually get into position. And yeah, it's quite easy for me to eliminate the play in the y-axis, I mean in the x-axis. Just remake that piece with tighter tolerances, and it's a simple piece to make. But like, I mean, it's just gonna make it annoying to change the holes. I mean, I guess I could do it just for my cousin, doesn't really matter. It's like simple as hell. But yeah, cool.